How you doing, guys? It was 2011. We had a circuit assembly coming up, and I was asked if I would help out with the parking. Now, at this point in time, I'd already been in the organization for about 5 years, and was only at that point starting to suspect something wasn't quite kosher about this organization, mostly through their own literature, but I started spotting hypocritical people within the organization. I did not know about the child sex abuse at that time. So I says, okay, I'll help out with the parking. The elder who was heading the assembly, Brother Big Balls, he and I did not click whatsoever. As a matter of fact, we had it out more times throughout that entire weekend. He had to go and make a point of telling people, I'm in charge. And he said it over and over and over. Now, this is a guy that could not even keep his own kids from screaming at the meeting. But damn, he was proud to tell everybody that he was in charge. And when somebody has to go out of their way to tell you that they're in charge of something, chances are they shouldn't be. Anyways, I caught wind that we were having problems with protesters outside the gate, and a lot of the witnesses were saying that they're protesting for no reason. They have no reason to be here. And, well, I started thinking, well, if somebody goes out of their way to protest, whether you agree with it or not, there is a reason. It's not like somebody sitting at home on a Saturday reading the paper and just saying, hey, there's a convention of Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's go protest it. No, there is always a reason. I didn't pay it much mind, but I guess through the course of the weekend, the protesters, the numbers started picking up. It was about the second or third day. Now, it was hotter than blazes, so I'm very tired, very sweaty, and I'm going inside to get into the AC for a while. Well, protesters outside the gate had started picking up in numbers. And all the Jehovah boys were out there like CIA agents at the front gate. I mean, yeah, wannabe badasses. As I'm going inside, Brother Big Ball says to me, what are you doing? Your mom. Psh, right over his head. He says to me, well, I got a job I think you're qualified to do. Well, I'm happy for you. He says, I want you to go to the back gate. Make sure none of the protesters get in. I'm sure you can do this. Yeah, I think I can handle it. Now, the back gate of the convention center was quite secluded. And I'm thinking, I'm walking back there, and all I kept hearing was about these violent protesters throughout the whole weekend. And I'm walking to the back gate. Now, there's nobody else around here. I don't have a radio. Now, if these people, these protesters are as violent as you say, wouldn't you send backup with me? No. Well, I didn't think much of it, and I didn't think there were going to be any protesters there, but I'm thinking, you just possibly could have put me in a hazardous situation. Well, I'm approaching the back gate. Now, nobody's there, nobody's coming in. I lit up a cigarette, slipped out the back gate, went to a local titty bar, had a few beers, and had my own symposium that afternoon. But this is all I heard, of how violent these protesters were. And in any case, over the last few years, especially since coming across the XJW community, there have been no violent protests. Now, I came across the XJW community sheerly accidentally. I was in the organization long enough to spot these little different things in the organization, so I was more receptive to it. And I'm wondering, had I came across the XJW community, say 5 years earlier, I wonder how I would have received them. Would I have been as open to their information, or would I have discarded it? And I'm thinking, at the time when I first came in, I may have discarded it. So I was in there long enough to be open to it, and sometimes I wonder, was it really accidentally that I came across the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses? Sometimes I don't think so. But unfortunately, not every Jehovah's Witness has that opportunity to hear the other side of the coin. Think back a few years, 4 years exactly, to November 5th, 2017. What happened? That was the Warwick protest. Now, if anybody remembers, the protest didn't go exactly as planned, but something happened that day that had never happened before. That was the first hall crash, mob hall crash at that. And that took the witnesses off guard. They were hearing information that they may never have heard before. Now, I'm sure to this day there are many that put a deaf ear to it and still said, you're protesting, you're invading our halls, it's wrong, it's underhanded, which, okay, that's always going to be debatable. Is it underhanded or is it not? Well, you could also turn that around. It's also underhanded to go to somebody's door on a Saturday morning and knock. But otherwise, this is information they would not have heard. So you have to wonder. Sometimes it takes underhanded tactics. Now, I came across the XJWs on YouTube. Not everybody is on YouTube, so not everybody is getting this information. Don't forget, the information within Watchtower is very controlled. These people are indoctrinated. So when they get outside information about their organization, they go on the defensive at first. But maybe like me, when you're in long enough and you start to spot it, there comes a day where you are receptive to it. Let's face it, more Jehovah's Witnesses in recent years have left the organization because of this information. Now, if you remember 2017, that set off a chain of events. There were hall crashes, not only all over the country, but all over the world. But even Jehovah's Witnesses adapt to it. It came to a day where the hall crashes were no longer effective, for the reason being, Watchtower eventually stepped in. They knew what to look for. They got familiar with certain faces and would stop them at the door. So it come time to change tactics. And for the most part, people had. And then COVID-19 happened and the hall crashes stopped. But in the meantime, that information started sinking in. And some of the Jehovah's Witnesses were going and doing their research. But they could also say, and Watchtower had fed this to the JWs, that these protesters, the ex-JWs in YouTube, are just crying sour grapes. And this is what the Jehovah's Witnesses believe. And in all honesty, no, it's not crying sour grapes. It's relaying information that we know that you're being kept from hearing. So we're relaying that information. So, referring to the last week's documentary on Vice, is exposure necessary? Yes, it is. Like I said, not everybody is on YouTube. Not everybody is on Facebook. Not everybody is on Twitter. So there are many Jehovah's Witnesses that are being good toy soldiers and not going on social media and hearing this information. Now, in all honesty, if they can hear both sides of the coin and they still want to be a Jehovah's Witness, have at it. But we just want to relay the information so that you get to see both sides of the coin, not just one. Now, over the last few years, these documentaries are starting to pick up the pace. Last year, it was the Witnesses on Oxygen. And just last week, it was the documentary, Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses Speak Out, on Vice TV. This added some credibility. Now, Watchtower can say the media is lying, but think about one thing. No production company is going to waste their energy and finances on something that isn't true and ruin their own credibility. No, they like to expose things and bring it to the public. Now, you could say apostate-driven lies, but no. There is enough court documents that prove that every allegation against Watchtower is true. And yes, Watchtower is hiding very many pedophiles in their organization. You know, I never actually found out what I was disfellowshipped for, because when I received the letter, I dropped it in the trash unopened. Reason being, I knew I was out. I didn't need a reason, so I dropped it in the trash. But I'm assuming it was for smoking. Now, we've all heard being disfellowshipped, you're putting the evil man out of the congregation. And I'm thinking over the years, I'm considered evil for smoking, if that was the reason. Yet, they overlooked the child molesters and pedophiles in the organization. So what you're telling me is that the God of the Watchtower is more concerned with the smokers than he is with the child abusers. And that tells me that the God of the Watchtower is an egomaniac, useless God. And to me, in all honesty, the creator of this vast universe is not the God of the Watchtower, because anybody who created this vast universe would be just too damn busy to have an ego like that. So is the exposure on Watchtower necessary? When somebody goes that far out of their way to conceal their crimes, yes, it is. Apostate-driven lies? No, it's not. Jehovah's Witnesses, pull your head out of the sand. Nobody is going to waste their time on falsehoods. This organization is a criminal organization, and they've been hiding it for decades. Don't be afraid to do your research. These people do not own you. They are not your authority, and the only authority they have over you is what you allow them to have. Do your research on the organization. I suggest that you do watch these documentaries with open eyes, and don't block your ears. Anyways, guys, I'd appreciate your comments. I got a long day today, and I will talk to you soon.